Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. It's great to see you today. Today we're starting the parak called, what's this parak called? Kol Kisvei HaKodesh. Yeah, it's cool. Today's a cool daf. We're talking about saving things from fires. So, can you save a translated book? Should you save translated books like Torah Nevi'im, Uchsuvim from fires? We're talking about writing amulets a little bit, but nothing too technical there. There's this little fly thing. Alright. Fly away, little guy. Alright. Saving books written with alternative inks. Okay. And then we talk about the minimum size for something to be considered something that you would save. We'll get to all of this exciting stuff. Let's move on. We are on Daf Kuf Tes Vav Amud Aleph at the beginning of the parak. So all Kisvei HaKodesh, all holy books, all holy writings, you would save from a fire. Now, now whether these are books that you read from or whether these are books that you don't read from, what does that mean? So a book that you read from would be, well, of course, Torah you read from, the 5 books of Moshe you read from, but also Nevi'im, right? The prophets, read from the prophets in Shul and Haftorah. So what are examples of books that you wouldn't read? So interestingly, Ksuvim, things like Eov, Mishlei, things like that. So Rashi says that on Shabbis, or even the Mishnah says, but anyways, that on Shabbos they would have shiurim in the Beis HaMedrash, so that the people who are working all week, they can chaperine and learn a little bit of halacha on Shabbos. Now, the thing with ksuvim is that you can really get involved in them, and you can lose track of time, and you'll say, I don't want to go to the shir. I'd rather just read the ksuvim. And because of that, they say, you're not allowed to read ksuvim because we want to make sure that people are going to go to the shir. Very interesting. So, afalpi she ksuvim b'chol lashon. And even if they are written in any language, such as Aramaic or nowadays, let's say English, you would save them from a fire. And it's a question, it's actually machlokas, if you would save them from the fire or not. And tu'unim gniza. And then the Mishnah says that you have to, tu'unim gniza. Rashi says that you basically wouldn't be able to be mafkir them. You wouldn't be able to, just leave them in some random place. You would have to deal with them appropriately if for whatever reason you wanted to get rid of it. So you'd have to, we don't really go into details of what you would have to do, but generally speaking, I think we bury things that need to have gniza. So now, okay, fine. Great. And how come we do not read, right, we said that we don't read ksuvim. Why don't we read ksuvim? Because, as I said, that if you were to read these ksuvim, so then you might get very absorbed in it, and you won't go to the halacha shir, and we want you to go to the halacha shir. Says the Gemara, Itmar, we have machlokas amoraim, hayu ksuvim targum, ovchol lashon. So if you had these books, some of these books, you have a klaf, you have, you're probably writing with the correct inks that you need to use, whatever it is. So you have these, Tanakh, you have books of Tanakh, and they are written down. But they're written down in Aramaic, or maybe some other language, maybe English. Rav Huna Amar, Ein matzilin osam mipnei adleika. So Rav Huna says that you would not save it from a fire on Shabbos. Okay, fine. Rav Chizda Amar matzilin osam mipnei adleika. Rav Chizda says that you would save it from a fire on Shabbos. Now, the Gemara says, So the Gemara says, so apparently there's a machlokas about when you have svarim of Tanakh and they are translated, are you actually allowed to read them or not? Right? If you translate Tanakh into English, are you allowed to read that? Are you allowed to read Tanakh in English? So, according to the Mandamar says, yes, you are. Well, then certainly, if these are books of Tanakh that we use and that we read, so then of course you would save them from a fire. on Shabbos. Ki plige, the machlokas between Rav Huna and Rav Chizda, where Rav Huna says that you would not save these translated books from a fire. So the machlokas is only according to the Man Amar, who says that you are not allowed to read translated books of Tanakh. So Rav Huna Amar ein matzilin. So Rav Huna says, we don't save these books because after all, these are not books that you can actually use or that you would read or anything like that. So there's no reason to save them from a fire on Shabbos. Whereas Rav Chizda Amar, Matzilin Mishum Bizyon Kisvei HaKodesh, Rav Chizda says, even though you don't read it, still you would save these translated books from a fire, because at the end of the day, if we just allow these books of Tanakh, that they might be translated, but if we just allow them to get burnt in a fire, so then it's disgraceful to the Tanakh and to the Torah. So therefore, even though they're translated, and even though according to this Man Amar you wouldn't be able to read them, nonetheless we wouldn't just allow them to just get burned in a fire, according to Rav Chizda. Okay. Now the Gemara asks a kasha on Rav Huna. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Kol Kisvei HaKodesh, all of these holy writings, Matzilin Osan Mipnei Adleka, we save them from a fire on Shabbos. Bein she'korin bayin, bein she'ein korin bayin, as we said, whether these are books that you read from them, whether these are books that you don't read from them, we're going to break this down in a second. Ve'afal pi she'ksuvim b'chol lashon, and even though they are written in any language. Now, says the Gemara, my love, so how do we understand this Mishnah, our Mishnah that we just quoted? Shekorin ba'en Nevi'im. When the Mishnah says that whether it's a book that you read from, so that's a reference to the Navi, right? As Rashi says, that we read, for example, we use them for the Haftorah in Shul on Shabbos. V'she'ein korin ba'en Ksuvim. And when we say books that we don't read from, that is the Ksuvim, as we said, right? Things like Eov, Mishlei, fine. And then it says, Afal pi she'ksuvim b'chol lashon, and even though they are written in any language, and what seems to be the chiddush there about them being written in any language, they're not allowed to read them, right? Because if they're written in any language and you're allowed to read them, well then, of course you would save them. Meaning, we already said that you would save Navi, you would save Ksuvim, even though you don't read Ksuvim, you would still save Ksuvim, right? Obviously, you would save the 5 books of Moshe, the Chamish Chumshei Torah. And if we're saying that a translation of the Torah you're allowed to read, well, why would then I have any reason, any thought to say that I wouldn't save it from a fire, right? I save all these other books of Tanakh from the fire. Why shouldn't I save this? The chiddush is that even though when they're translated you're not allowed to read them, nonetheless, you would save them from the fire. Vikatani matzilin, v'tiyufta de Rav Huna. And we're saying that you would save them, therefore it's a kasha on Rav Huna, who says that you would not save these books that are translated and that you would not read, right? Rav Huna says that if these translated books you are not allowed to read, if you would say that you're not allowed to read them, so then you also would not save them from the fire. Yet our Mishnah seems to be assuming that these translated books you're not allowed to read, and yet we're saying that we save them from a fire. Wow, interesting. The light is coming through like the window in an interesting way that's actually doing some weird illusion in my left eye, and it's distracting. So 1 second. I'm just going to close the shade real quick. Okay, I'm back. Fine. So we said no. So our Mishnah is saying that even though you wouldn't read translated books, nonetheless you would save them from the fire. Fine. Amalek Rav Huna. So Rav Huna says, no, it's not a kasha on me. Vitizbra, let me ask you a question. Ema Seifa, Tunin Gniza. What does the Mishnah say when it continues? It says that you have to hide away these books properly, right? These books that you save from the fire, so you wouldn't be allowed to just leave them out at Hefker. You would have to sort of bury them or put them away properly. So right? Or really, Greniza mibai, it's a question, right? So, 1 second. So if we're saying that all of these books, so you would save them from a fire, including translated books that you're not allowed to read, you would save them from the fire. So if you save them from a fire, then obviously also, these are things that we would want to not just make hefker, and we want to sort of, I don't know if the right word is dispose, but put them away properly. So Ella, Rav Huna mataritz the time of Rav Chisda mataritz the time. So rather, Rav Huna is going to explain the Mishnah in a way that makes sense according to him, and Rav Chisda, who says that even when you're not allowed to read translated books, you would still save them from the fire, he's going to explain the Mishnah in a way that makes sense according to him. Let's see. So Rav Huna mataritz the time. So Rav Huna explains our Mishnah according to the way that he learns. Bein shekorin bohem neviim. When it says that you save books of Tanakh that you read, so that's referring to neviim. What are books that we don't read? Ksuvim. We don't read Ksuvim. Fine. But now, when do we say that you would save these books? When they're written in Hebrew. But if these books were written in any other language, Aramaic, English, you would not save them from the fire. However, even though a translated book of Tanakh you would not save from a fire on Shabbos, however, you would have to do geniza if you want to, dispose of it. Rav Chisda mataritz l'taimei. So now Rav Chisda explains the reason, the Mishnah according to his reasoning. Bein shekorin bohen nevim. When it says books that you read, that's referring to Navi. Ubein she'en korin bohen ksuvim. Books that you do not read, that's reference to ksuvim. And even if it's written in any language, you would also, right? All of these examples you would save, right? Whether it's neviim, whether it's ksuvim, whether it's written in any language, you would save all of these books. And then when we're talking about geniza, it means, and even if they get worn out, you would still have to do geniza. You can't just throw them away, even if they get worn out, to an extent that I guess you wouldn't save them anymore, but still you would require geniza. Meizvei, we try to bring another kasha against Rav Huna. Ha'uksuvim targum uvcholashon matzilin osam mipnei adleika tiyufta de Rav Huna. So now we have a brisa which says that if you have these books of Tanakh that are written in Aramaic or in any language, you would save them from a fire. So that seems to be a kasha on Rav Huna, right? So Amalach Rav Huna haytana savra nitnu likros bain. So Rav Huna would say, no, not a kasha. I mean, this brisa that says that even though they're written in other languages, you would save them from a fire. That is because the Tana of this Mishnah holds that you're allowed to read books that are translated. Now, of course, I agree that if you're allowed to read these books, then you would save them from a fire. I'm only saying that you don't save them from a fire if, according to Mandamur, says that you're not allowed to read them. Toshma, come in here. Hayuksuvin giftis, midis, ivris, ilmis, yivanis. If you have these books that are written in giftis or midis or ivris is actually, I believe it's referring to the Ivris lettering, meaning you have it, the Torah, that it's written in Lashon HaKodesh, but instead of using the Ashuris letters, which are the letters that we use, they use the Ivris letters to write the Torah. Ilmis, Yivanis is Greek. Even though you're not allowed to read them. No, so the author of this brisa clearly holds that in these different languages you're not allowed to read them. And nonetheless, you would save them from a fire. Well, that certainly sounds like a problem for Rav Huna, who says that you would not save them from the fire if you're not allowed to read them. Rav Huna Tanoi. So Rav Huna responds and he says, you know what? It's machlokas Tanoi. The question of when you have these books that are translated, according to the Man Amr who says that you're not allowed to read them, would you save them from a fire on Shabbos or not? The Maaseh, It's a machlokas tanaim. There is a Tana that says that when you're not allowed to read them, you also would not save them from the fire. And I hold like that Tana. Let's see. The Tana is, we learn in the Brisa, Yuksuvim Targum Uvcholashin. If you have these books that are written in Aramaic or in any other language, Matzilin Osan Mipnei Adleika, you would save them from the fire. Okay. Now, it's unclear. It doesn't, this Tana Kama is not saying whether or not you're allowed to read from them. Okay. But you would save them from the fire. Fine. Rabbi Yossi Omer says Rabbi Yossi, Ein Matzilin Osan Mipnei Adleika. You would not save these books from a fire. Fine. Okay. Rabbi Yossi, says Rabbi Yossi, Maise ba'abu Chalafta. There was a story with my father Chalafta. Of course, Rabbi Yossi, Stam Rabbi Yossi in the Gemara, is Rabbi Yossi bar Chalafta. So he's saying that his father Chalafta, Shalach Eitzel Rabban Gamliel Beribi, that he went to Rabban Gamliel. Beribi just means the son of somebody great. And Rabban Gamliel certainly was the son of somebody great. His father was Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. His grandfather was Rabban Gamliel Azakin. We learned about Rabban Gamliel Azakin and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. It sounds pretty crazy, but we mamish learned about them 100 pages ago. Today we're learning Daf Kuf Tesvav. We learned about them on Daf Tesvav, right? That we said that in the last 100 years of the Beis Hamikdash, Hillel and his son his son Shimon, and Shimon's son Rabbi Gamliel Azakin and his son Rabbi Shimon, they were the Nisim of the last 100 years of the Beis Hamikdash. Now we are talking about that. Now we are talking about that Shimon, right? So we had Hillel, Shimon, Rabbi Gamliel Azakin, his son Reb Shimon, and then Reb Shimon's son was Rabbi Gamliel, who we're talking about in this story. And then, no. So one second. So this, sorry. So the father of this Rabbi Gamliel was not Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. His son was Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel's son was Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. And it's on Janin's chart over there. Right? So basically you had Hillel. Hillel had a son named Shimon. Shimon had a son named Gamliel. That was Rabbi Gamliel Azakin. And Rabbi Gamliel Azakin had a son Shimon. Okay? That Shimon had a son Rabbi Gamliel, who is Stam Rabbi Gamliel. And that's who we're talking about in this story. And then Rabbi Gamliel had a son Shimon, that was Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and then he was the father of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. Very exciting. So, back to our story. So Rabbi Yossi says that there was a story with his father Chalafta. Shalach Eitzel Rabbi Gamliel Beribi, that he went to Rabbi Gamliel, the son of somebody great, the Tveria, and he went to visit him in Tveria. Fine. Okay, and Chalafta found, now interesting, so it says that he went to visit Rabbi Gamliel in Tveria. Now we have that story also from Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, where it says that Rabbi Yossi was exiled to Tzipori, but this is a story about his father Chalafta, so I don't know if this was necessary. This could have been like before he was exiled to Tzipori, but in any event, I'll call upon him. Fine. So Chalafta went and he found Rabbi Gamliel in Tveria, and he was by a certain fellow named Yochanan Anazuf, Uviyadu Sefer Iyov Targum, Vukaribo. And Rabbi Gamliel had the book of Iyov, and it was translated to Aramaic, and he was reading it. Okay. So we see that Rabbi Gamliel was reading this translated sefer. Okay. Amar lo. And Chalafta said to Rabbi Gamliel, Zocher, I don't know if it's Chalafta or Rabbi Chalafta. I don't know. I don't see that he's referred to as Rabbi Chalafta anywhere. So Chalafta it is. So Chalafta said to Rabbi Gamliel, Zachor ani Rabbi Gamliel avi avicha shoya omer agabi ma'ile b'harabayis. So Chalafta said to Rabbi Gamliel, I remember your grandfather, Rabbi Gamliel Azakin. And one time he was standing on one of the stairs to Har Habayis. They view the fun of Sefer Iyov, Targum. And they brought in front of him the same exact book that you're reading, the book of Iyov, and it was translated into Aramaic. And your grandfather, Rabbi Gamliel Azaken, he instructed the builders, put this book of translated Iyov under the stones of the wall. I.e., I'm not reading this translated book of Iyov. I.e., you're not allowed to read translated books of Tanakh. So guess what happened? Afutziva olav ugnazo. And so at that point, Rabbi Gamliel said, wow, I did not know that. And then he also got rid of this translated book of Iyov that he was reading. Okay, let's just go on for another minute. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, Areva Shaltit, Kafu Olav. So Rabbi Yehuda said that actually what happened with the story of Rabbi Gamliel Azaken was that they took a container full of mud or cement, and they spilled it over this translated Iyov. Now, Amr Rebbe Shtei Tshuvas B'davar, Rebbe said to Rabbi Yehuda, says that part doesn't make sense, that they would have taken a bucket of cement and spilled it over the translated Iyov. Chada, for reason number one, is v'chitit b'har Habayis minayin. Where would they have had cement on Har Habayis? They didn't use cement on Har Habayis. V'od, and more so v'chimutu la'abdon biyad. Would you be able to simply just destroy this translated book? Right? Meaning, even according to Rav Huna, we said, even according to Rav Huna, who says that according to Mandamar, who says that you're not allowed to read translated books, but you still have to do Geniza. So Ella manichan b'makom atorfa vein markivin me'elen. Rather, what you do is Rabbi Gamliel would have just Rabbi Gamliel Azaken would have just taken this Sefer Iyov that was translated and put it under the wall, let's say, and just let it rot on its own. Okay. So what do we see from that story? So we see that Rabbi Yossi, he says, Ein matzilin osam mipnei adleika, when they're translated. And then he brings that story from his father, Chalafta, where Chalafta had this story with Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Gamliel Azaken, that basically they had this Sefer Iyov that was translated and you're not allowed to read it. So we see that basically, according to Rabbi Yehuda, not only are you not allowed to read a translated book of Tanakh, also you wouldn't save it from a fire. So that's Rav Huna's man. So man Tanoi. So now the Gemara says, so in everything that we've just described up until now, right? So Rav Huna wanted to say that whether or not you would save a translated book of Tanakh, according to if you hold that you don't read it. So Rav Huna says that this is actually machlokas Tanaim. So man Tanoi. So who are these Tanaim that would line up with Rav Huna and Rav Chizda's opinion? Ilema Tanakam of Rabbi Yossi. So if you're going to say that the two Tanaim are the Tanakam and Rabbi Yossi, right? So remember, in this brisa, so we had Rabbi Yossi's opinion, of course, that you would not save these translated books. And the Tanakama was Ayuksuvin Taigum V'cholashim Matzilin Osam Pnei Adleika. Tanakama says that you would save these translated books. So we'll say that Rav Chizda, who says that you would save these translated books, so he holds like the Tanakama over there, and Rav Huna says that you would not save the translated books. He holds like Rabbi Yossi. But that wouldn't necessarily work, because Vidilma B'akam Ifligate. Maybe the machlokas between Rabbi Yossi and the Tanakama is Marsavar Nisnu Likros Boin, Marsavar Lo Nisnu Likros Boin. Maybe the Tanakama simply holds that you're allowed to read from translated books, and because you're allowed to read from translated books, that's why you would save them, right? But we're trying to find a Tana that holds that you are not allowed to read translated books, and nonetheless you would save them, and that would be who Rav Chizda would be going like. So Ella Rabbi Yossi v'Tana de giftis, right? If you remember, we had a brisa about giftis, right? How you ksuvin giftis midis Ivris, Ilmis, Yivanis, Afupisha, Lo Nitnu Likros Bain Matzilin Osam Pnei Adleika. Even though you're not allowed to read these translated texts, you nonetheless would save them from fire. So that's going to be Rav Chizda's brisa that his Tana that he goes like. And Rav Huna is going to be like Rabbi Yossi, who says that even though you're not allowed to read from these translated books, nonetheless, also, meaning you're not allowed to read from these translated books, and you also do not save them from a fire, that so Rav Huna is going to hold like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, very, very nice. That's the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and, well, it's machlokes between Rav Chizda and Rav Huna about do you save these translated books according to the Manda Amar who says that you're not allowed to read them. Fine. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Habrachis ve'akmein Afapisha ish bain osius shel shem ume'inyanus harbe shebatorah in matzilin osim pnei adleika. Okay, so a verse that says that brachis, regular brachis, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shakol nir b'dvaro, whatever it is, any of these brachis, if you write them down, or if you have amulets and you write down these amulets, Afapisha ish bain osius shel shem, even though they have God's name in them, and at least in amulets they quote all sorts of psukim in the Torah, as Rashi points out, things like kol hamachla asher samti b'tzayim lo asam alecha ki ani Hashem ofecha and lo sirim pachad laila, right? These kind of positive, saving oriented psukim. So even though these amulets and these brachas have God's name, they may have psukim in them. In matzilin osam pnei adleika, you do not save them from a fire on Shabbos. Rather, they're going to be burnt in their place where they are, them and any shemos of Hashem that are written on them. Mikan Amru, from here they said, Kosve brachis kisor Torah. Wow. So from here they said that people who write down brachis, it's like they're burning the Torah, because if you write down brachis, in the event that there is a fire on Shabbos, you wouldn't be allowed to save them, and you're basically creating a situation in which God's name is going to be burnt. There's a story about a certain fellow, that he was writing down, I guess, brachas and amulets in Tzidon. Rabbi Yishmael. Wow. So they came and they told Rabbi Yishmael, listen, Rabbi Yishmael, there's a fellow who's writing down brachas and amulets. V'halach Rabbi Yishmael levodko. So Rabbi Yishmael went to go see what was going on. When Rabbi Yishmael was going up the ladder to get to this fellow's home, so this fellow, or at least his workspace, this fellow realized, I'm about to get busted. So he took some like notebooks filled with brachas, and he put them in a bucket in a pail of water, so that, to basically destroy the evidence. Rabbi Yishmael, and Rabbi Yishmael said to this fellow, the punishment for the latter transgression that you did is worse than the first one. The first one being having written down these brachas and command in the first place. Or I guess in this case it was just brachas. Or maybe not, maybe it was both. So worse than having written down these brachas and amulets was the fact that you then destroyed them. Which is interesting. So does that mean that you shouldn't really write, it sounds like from here, you shouldn't be writing amulets in the first place, right? Right? It sounded like Rabbi Shmuel was not pleased that this fellow was writing amulets. Interesting. So the Reish Galusa asked Rabbi Bar Rav Huna, very good. Let's read that again. So, if you add these Sfarim, and they were written with these alternative inks, right? In general, we write Sifrei Torah and Mezuzahs, everything that we write, we generally write with Dio, with this black Dio ink. But what if you wrote these Sfarim with Sam ink, or Sikra, Bukumus, Kankantum, B'Lashon HaKodesh, but you wrote it in Hebrew. You wrote it in Lashon HaKodesh. So it was in the correct language, but you didn't use the correct ink. So Matzilin also Pnei Adleika Matzilin. So would you save these books from a fire or not? Now, continues the Reish Galusa. Now, going back to our machlokas between would you save translated books from a fire or not? So it says the Reish Galusa, look, I can go either way. Even according to Rav Chizda, who says that you would save the translated books, I can make the argument that maybe Rav Chizda would hold that you would not save these books that were written with these different inks. And even according to Rav Huna, who says that you would not save these translated books, I can make the argument that maybe over here you would say that you would save it. Let's see. So I can make, so I'm asking according to the Mandam who says that you wouldn't save translated books, because maybe over there the only reason why he would say that you would not save them is because they're translated. But over here, this is written in the correct language. It's written in Lashon HaKodesh. Sure, it's written in a different kind of ink, but it's written in Lashon HaKodesh. Maybe over here you would save it. Right? Or perhaps I'll say that even according to the Mandam who says that you would save translated books, that's only if these translated books are written in Dio, which is the preferred ink, because Dio lasts a long time. It holds better. And therefore, even though it's translated, you're still going to save it because it's written. But over here, even though it's written in Lashon HaKodesh, but it's written with these inks that they're going to rub out. They're not going to last. So therefore, maybe you wouldn't save it. So Amarle Ein Matzilin. So Rabbi Bar Huna answered to the Reish Galusa. He says, "Look, you're not going to save them. You're not going to save these Sfarim. Sure, they're written in Lashon HaKodesh, but they're written in less than ideal. They're not written in the ideal ink, and therefore you're not going to save them." V'harav Hamnuna Tana Matzilin. To which the Reish Galusa responds, and he says, "Yeah, but actually, Rav Hamnuna taught from a brisa that you would save these books that are written in Lashon Kodesh but with different inks." Amlei Tanya Tanya. So Rabbi Bar Huna said, okay, well, if that's the case, if there's a brisa, and well, then it's settled. You would save these books even though they're written in other inks. My Tanya, what's this brisa from which we learn that you would save these books written in other inks? So Amar Vashi Kidatanya. So Vashi says like the following brisa: Ein bein Sfarim leMegillah. The only difference between Sfarim and Megillah. Wait, which Megillah are we talking about? Are we talking about like Megillas Esther, or are we talking about like any kind of like a Megillah? I don't know. Interesting. So the only difference between the Gemara, the only difference between a Sefer Torah, between Sfarim and a Megillah, is that Sfarim anichtavim b'chol lashon. That Sfarim can be written in any language. Megillah, maybe it's not talking about Megillah Esther. Megillah ad shetei ksuva ashuris ala sefer video, but a Megillah needs to be written in ashuris lettering and on a sefer, I guess on a cloth, uvidyo, and with dio ink, which implies that regular Sfarim do not need to be written with dio, and therefore the Reish Galusa's question about when you have Sfarim that are written in Lashon HaKodesh but not with dio, with these other inks, that would be acceptable because only Megillas need to be written with dio. Other Sfarim do not need to be written with dio. Rav Huna bar Chaluv Rav Nachman. So Rav Huna bar Chaluv asked a question from Rav Nachman. Sefer Torah she'ein bo lelaket shmonim v'chamish osios. So if you have a Sefer Torah that does not have 85 letters, meaning you can't even gather together 85 letters. Forget about having 85 letters in one spot. There aren't even 85 letters scattered in different parts of the Torah. Kigon, Parshas Vayiben to Aaron, okay, meaning 85 letters, which is based on the length of the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron, because of course, Vayibnso Aaron is considered to be its own parsha in itself, right? Ki'ilu, you have the book of Bamidbar up until the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron, which is in Parshas Baloscha, and then you have these like inverted nuns, and in between those nuns is this parsha of Vayibnso Aaron, which is 85 letters long. And then after that is the rest of Sefer Bamidbar. It's actually considered that Parshas Vayibnso Aaron is its own parsha, which means that there actually aren't 5 books of the Torah, there are 7, right? There's Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra. Then you have Bamidbar up until Vayibnso Aaron. Then you have Vayibnso Aaron. Then you have the rest of Sefer Bamidbar. And then you have Sefer Devarim. So the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron is 85 letters. So Rav Huna Bar Chalav is asking Rav Nachman, Sefer Torah, if you have a Sefer Torah, she'ein bo lelakit shmonim v'chamish osios kagon parshas Vayibnso Aaron, if you can't even gather from different areas of this Sefer Torah 85 letters, which would be the equivalent of the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron, matzilin osum pnei adleiko ein matzilin, would you save the Sefer Torah from a fire or not? Amar lei, so Rav Nachman said to Rav Huna Bar Chalav, V'tibailach. Well, one second. Ask yourself, Parshas Vayibnso Aaron Gufa, Heicha Dechaser. Why don't you ask yourself? I mean, meaning you're asking about a Sefer Torah that has less than 85 letters in random places. Would you say that from a fire? Rav Nachman responds, wait a second, why don't we first ask, let's just clarify first a clearer question, which is, what about the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron itself, which is 85 letters? Let's say it's missing 1 letter, so now it's less than 85 letters. Would you save that from the fire? And if the answer to that is no, well then certainly you're not going to save this Sefer Torah with random letters, and there's less than 85 of them. So Rav Huna Bar Chalav answers, Parshas Vayibnso lo kami bayali. I'm not asking myself about the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron if there's less than 85 letters, because the cave and the izbei as karis, afal gab de leizbei shmonim v'chamish osios matzilin. Since the parsha of Vayibnso Aaron has the shame Hashem as the name of God, well then even if there's less than 85 letters, you would still save it. Ki kami bayali. What I'm asking is Sefer Torah she'ein bo lelaked mai. What about if I have a Sefer Torah and I have random letters scattered throughout the entire klaf, and there are less than 85 of them, would I save that? So Amar ein matzilin. So Nachman says, okay, yeah, you're not going to save that Sefer Torah. Eisvei, to which Rav Huna Bar Chalav then asked Rav Nachman a kasha from a brisa. Targum sheksavu mikra. Okay, if you take a portion of the Torah that is supposed to be written in Aramaic, and you wrote it in Hebrew. Because yes, there are parts of Tanakh, as we're going to see in a minute, there are parts of Tanakh that are written in Aramaic. Let's say you translated that to Hebrew, and you wrote those down. Or you wrote down a passage from the Torah that is written in Hebrew, and you wrote it down in Aramaic. Uchsav Ivris, or if you wrote some passage in Hebrew, but you didn't use Ashuris letters, you used Ivris letters. Matzilim pnei adleika, you would save them from a fire. Ben tzarich lomar targum shebe'ezav v'shebedaniel v'shebetorah. I mean, and certainly, we said that if you, let's say, would write a part of the Torah that should be written in Hebrew and you write it in Aramaic, you would save it. Well, then certainly the parts of Tanakh that are supposed to be written in Aramaic, such as the portions in Ezra, the portions in Daniel, the portions in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah that are written in Aramaic, and you write them in Aramaic, of course you would save those as well. Targum Shebetorah Ma'niu, Yigar Sadusa. What is an example of Aramaic that's in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah? The answer is Yigar Sadusa. I think it's at the end of Parshas Vayetze, I think. Right? It says that Yaakov kind of ran away from Lavan with all the kids and wives and everybody. Lavan then caught up with him, and they created this place where they took made this pile of stones, and they said that this will be the witness of our truce or whatever. So it actually says there, mamish in the pasuk, it says Yigar Sa'adusa, there, right? And then it even says, right, and that they call it Gal Eid, right? That And Yigar Sa'adusa means this pile that is a witness. So we see that there is Aramaic in the Torah itself, right? And what Rav Huna Bar Chalav is trying to prove from this brisa is that we're saying that even if you simply write the two words, Yigar Sa'adusa, and you write that in Aramaic, you would save it. So we seem to be saying that even if you have less than 85 letters, you would still save it from a fire. Kitanya Ayila Hashlim. So Rav Nachman responds, and he says, no, that thing about Yigar Sa'adusa and saving, that doesn't mean that if you literally just had the two words Yigar Sa'adusa, you would save that from a fire. No, that means that if you had like 80 letters throughout the Torah, and then you also, or just 80 letters in this passage, written in Hebrew, right? And then you have these two words written in Aramaic, so nonetheless, so that would complete the number of 85. We wouldn't say that since it's in Aramaic, it wouldn't count. Of course it would count. Fine. Ibailu, they asked the kasha. Okay. So when we say that there needs, so we've been assuming right now, we've been talking about kind of scattered letters and gathering together, and we've basically been saying that if there are 85 of them, so then you would save it from a fire. But we're going to see it's actually machlokas amuraim. So ibailu anishmon v'chamesh osios mechunasos mefuzaros. So these 85 letters that we're talking about, do they have to be like together, or can they just be randomly scattered throughout the Torah? Rav Huna amar mechunasos, Rav Chizda amar mefuzaros. So Rav Huna says they would have to be gathered together. Rav Chizda says no, they can mamish be like one letter here, one letter there. Meisvei, we have a kasha against Rav Huna. Sefer Torah shabala, if you have a Sefer Torah that got worn out, im yeshbo lelakech one of v'chamesh osios, kigon parshas vayibn so Aaron matzilin, from lavim matzilin. So if there is in this worn out Sefer Torah enough letters to gather together 85 letters like the parsha vayibn so Aaron, so then we would save it from a fire. If not, we wouldn't save it from a fire. So it's a kasha to Yufta de Rav Huna. It's a kasha of Rav Huna because we seem to be saying lelake, to gather together. Gathering together seems to be implying that they're not all in the same place. You have a letter here, a letter there, you can gather them together, and if you can gather them together, then you would save it. That sounds like Rav Chizda, not like Rav Huna, who says that they would have to all be in one place. So Tirgma Rav Chizda, Aliba de Rav Huna, B'tevis. So Rav Chizda explains according to Rav Huna, that we're talking about the words, meaning even Rav Huna would admit that if you have, when Rav Huna says that you're not allowed to gather together these 85 letters, it means like a letter here, a letter there. Rav Huna wouldn't be into that. But if it's a word here and a word there, Rav Huna would say that that's fine. And therefore, so how does Rav Huna learn this brisa of? As long as you can gather together 85 letters, then you would save it. It means if you can gather together words that would make up 85 letters, then you would save the Sefer Torah. But if it's just random letters, Rav Huna would say that you would not be able to gather them together. Fine. Great. And that's machlokes between Rav Chizda and Rav Huna. Rav Chizda says that these letters can be scattered anywhere. And Rav Huna would say that no, they would at least have to be, complete words. I think that Rav Huna, what did we say? Did we say Gemara Brachas that I think Rav Huna and Rav Chizda were like chavrusas, I think. Right? Didn't we say that over there? Who's an example of a good chavrusa? So, I think Rav Chizda said me and Rav Huna said me and Rav Chizda. I think I'd have to look that up. Anyways, friends, that was Daf Kuf Tes Vav. I think it was pretty cool. Anyway, so we spoke about, do you save translated books? So we said, look, if you're allowed to read, according to Mandamur says you're allowed to read translated books, so then certainly you would save them as well. According to Mandamur says that you're not allowed to read translated books, well then Rav Huna says you would not save them from a fire, and Rav Chizda says nonetheless you would. Okay, then we talked about then we brought a few rayas to try to, be a kasha against Rav Huna. Rav Huna was able to stand strong, and in the end he said, look, it's machlokas tanaim. I hold like Rabbi Yossi, and Rav Chizda holds like the Tana of the Brisa that says that even though you don't read translated books, you would save them nonetheless. Fine. Talk about amulets, which is interesting. That it seems like you really shouldn't write down amulets, at least not according to this Brisa, this Gemara, at least not according to Rabbi Yishmael, which is interesting. Do you save Sfarim that are written in Hebrew, in Lashon Kodesh, but in alternative inks? Originally, Rabbi Bar Avuna wanted to say, no, you would not save them, but Rav Hamnuna brought from a Brisa that you would save these Sfarim even if they are written in different inks, not in DO. We said a Sefer Torah that has less than 85 letters. Rav Nachman said that you would not save that Sefer Torah. It would have to have 85 letters. And then at the end we got into this machlokas between Rav Huna and Rav Chizda about do these 85 letters have to be gathered together to some extent, at least in the same word, or can they just be random letters? Rav Chizda says they can be random letters. Rav Huna says they would have to be at least in full words. Friends, that was Daf Kuf Tes Vav. I think it was a cool daf. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day or night. Peace.